Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Day 4 in Jerusalem. Wow, what a trip this has been. Glad to have you along. The ceasefire is back on. The Israeli Defense Forces indicated that the ceasefire is being resumed in wake of the Israeli military strikes after Hamas violated the peace agreement. We have an update for you from Jerusalem. Trump's war on drugs stops at the Mexican border, on land, that is, but the open sea is a whole lot different. It's not safe to be struggling drugs via boat anymore. We have an update on that as well. And Washington, D.C., the city that's supposed to represent order, leadership, and law, just witnessed one of its most violent weekends of the year, and this after President Trump has beefed up security. It's another busy day from the Holy Land. Let's jump right in.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
We continue to follow the breaking developments out of Israel and Gaza. And let's just say the word ceasefire doesn't always mean what it used to mean. After yet another round of Hamas violations, the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, announced yesterday that it had resumed enforcement, and that's the key word, enforcement of the ceasefire agreement following a series of powerful targeted strikes ordered by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, there's been a lot of mixed emotions here. Mixed ideas of what the appropriate response was to this, and everybody has their own opinion. Again, the key word there is that the Israelis and Prime Minister Netanyahu believe that they just were enforcing the ceasefire. Some people have been critical that Israel, again, has taken things a bit too far. Now, according to the IDF statement, in accordance with the directive of the political echelon and following a series of strikes in which dozens of terror targets and terrorists were struck, the IDF has begun the renewed enforcement of the ceasefire in response to Hamas's violation. That was the statement from the IDF. Now, let's pause right there because, again, that important phrase, renewed enforcement of the ceasefire. Israel isn't walking away from the truce. They still believe in the peace agreement brokered by the Trump administration. But they also believe that they have to enforce that peace through strength. And there's T-shirts all around. I've seen a lot of young people, particularly here in Jerusalem, with T-shirts that have peace in all caps and then below it through strength, a principle Americans understand very well. We believe that the reason we have peace is because there are consequences to those who choose not to have peace. Now, the IDF says that among those targeted were Hamas commanders, individuals holding operational positions in Gaza's terrorist networks. These weren't random bombings. Israel didn't just send a bunch of bombers over there and drop these in. These were deliberate strikes against those who violated the ceasefire and orchestrated fresh attacks on Israeli troops. And Prime Minister Netanyahu didn't mince words. His statement was, following security consultations, I have directed the military to immediately carry out forceful strikes in the Gaza Strip. That order came after Hamas attacked and killed Master Sergeant Yonah Ephraim Feldbaum, a 37-year-old reservist, and dual Israeli-American citizen. He was serving in a combat engineering corps. He died on Tuesday in southern Gaza. This is a reminder that Israel's enemies are not honoring any truce. The Israeli Foreign Ministry confirmed his death and called it a heartbreaking loss for both Israel and the Jewish people. Now, during this press briefing in Jerusalem, the foreign minister, a spokesperson for the foreign ministry, said that Feldbaum's death was not just another tragedy, but another violation of an already shaky ceasefire, a ceasefire Hamas never respected in the first place. And to make matters worse, Israel is accusing Hamas of staging propaganda scenes designed to deceive international observers and the media. Have you seen what they actually did? I mean, let me walk you through it. Let me walk you through what these terrorists actually did. The IDF released video footage showing Hamas operatives literally moving human remains from one location to another and then calling the Red Cross to, quote, discover the bodies for the cameras. According to the IDF, Hamas terrorists were filmed removing remains from a prepared structure, reburying them nearby, and then summoning representatives from the International Committee of the Red Cross, to stage what looked like a legitimate recovery mission. That's who these people are. Now, the Red Cross later confirmed that they had been manipulated. Their statement said, our team is at this location. Our team at this location was not aware that a deceased person had been placed there prior to our arrival. It is unacceptable that a fake recovery was staged when so many families are anxiously awaiting news of their loved ones. Now, think about that for a moment. Even the Red Cross, one of the most neutral humanitarian groups in the world, is condemning Hamas for using human remains as a propaganda prop. That's the level of moral bankruptcy Israel is dealing with these terrorists. Now, to the average observer, these might sound just like another round of strikes in a long-running war. But what's happening here is deeper than that. It's part of this post-war psychological political battle over who controls the narrative. And Israel knows it can't afford to lose that fight. The IDF is making it clear. Every missile launched, every operation carried out is tied to a ceasefire violation by Hamas, not an unprovoked escalation from Israel. They're not doing this. They're not being proactive. They're not being on the offensive. They're holding Hamas accountable. They're enforcing peace because Hamas won't. Hamas won't go by the agreement. And as Prime Minister Netanyahu told reporters here in Israel this week, Israel will never allow Hamas to dictate the terms of peace. Now, meanwhile, the U.S. officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance, have been in close contact, we're told, with Israeli leaders. The Vice President met with Netanyahu back on October the 22nd here in Jerusalem, reaffirming America's ironclad support for Israel's right to defend itself. It's worth noting that President Trump's administration, which helped broker this ceasefire in the first place, has continued to encourage both sides to honor it. And that's what the world wants. But as Israeli officials have said repeatedly, you can't have peace with people who glorify death. And Hamas glorifies death. They don't have respect for life. On the ground in Gaza, the reality remains pretty grim. Aid groups say parts of the Strip resemble a minefield with unexploded ordnance. We talked about that the other day, which is just going to continue to take lives. They're everywhere. Infrastructure, complete buildings just totally destroyed. I mean, it literally looks like a war zone in a movie. But while humanitarian groups call for restraint, Israeli officials insist their actions are measured and precise, again, targeting only military infrastructure and holding Hamas responsible for their actions. Israel's argument is very simple. They're not seeking war, they're enforcing order. And here's the bigger picture. Think about this. This ceasefire, again, the U.S. played a big role in that. President Trump, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff. It was designed to disarm Hamas and pave the way for a new Palestinian administration free of terror. But if Hamas keeps attacking, all of that's going to collapse. It's going to go away. The international force overseeing the ceasefire can only operate if both sides are respecting the rules. And so far, it appears that Israel's the only one playing by them. And let's remember, Hamas was supposed to be out of the picture entirely under this deal. They were to disarm, withdraw, cede control of Gaza's future governance. But instead, they've continued to smuggle weapons, attack Israeli patrols, manipulate international aid agencies like the Red Cross, and just create terror and chaos in their own country. And that's why Israel, rather than backing down, doubled down in enforcement. Here's the truth. Peace in the Middle East doesn't survive on paper. It survives through strength, through honesty, and accountability. The people here in Jerusalem that I've been able to talk to since being here, they want peace. And they support the prime minister, but they're wary of war. They're conflicted because they're ready to get on with their life and not be worried about their sons and daughters being killed in this continued war in Gaza. And the IDF strikes, again, they're not revenge, they're about deterrence. And even when the Red Cross calls out Hamas for deceit, you know exactly who's undermining peace. The tragedy of Sergeant Feldbaum's death, the manipulation of humanitarian workers, and the continued deception by Hamas, that tells the story. That tells you exactly what you need to know. Israel wants peace. Hamas continues to want power. They want control of the region, and they want to create chaos, and they don't mind who gets in the way. And as long as that's the equation, Israel will continue to doing what it must do to protect its people, uphold whatever fragile peace the world can negotiate. I got a feeling that we're still have some rough times ahead of us.
Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com.
So picture this. Somewhere off the coast of Venezuela, a U.S. Navy radar picked up a fast-moving vessel, a drug runner. It was packed with cocaine bound for the U.S. Moments later, it was destroyed by U.S. forces in a precision strike, part of what's being called the revived Trump administration counter-narcotics campaign in the Caribbean. Now, this is a big story because for the first time in years, the U.S. military is taking direct, decisive action against drug cartels in the open seas, right in our own hemisphere. Some people are not happy. Some people don't like it. And look, if you're a drug runner and you've been used to getting your drugs across the Caribbean, because that's much easier than trying to smuggle them in across the border now because President Trump has closed the Mexican border. You're taking your own life in hands. I mean, let's set the stage here. The U.S. is launching a new maritime crackdown on these cocaine shipments, a campaign that's both strategic and somewhat symbolic. As one expert, Brent Sadler from the Heritage Foundation, put it, this is a quote, "They're going to try and stay alive by moving cargo in aircraft, but it's more expensive, and you can't move as much by volume. It's going to hurt their business model." In other words, Washington's pressure at sea is working. When traffickers are forced to change tactics to move drugs through smaller, riskier routes, it means their networks are being squeezed. But as Mr. Sadler warns, the cartels will collapse under their own weight if their money supply is cut off. And that's exactly what will happen if their business is disruptive like this. That strategy, hit them where it hurts, their wallets, their smuggling lanes, and their offshore cash flow, that's how you defeat the cartels. And yet, while our Navy and Coast Guard are hitting targets near Venezuela and Colombia, there's one place the U.S. still won't go, and that's Mexico. That's right. The same cartels that manufacture and traffic nearly all the fentanyl and methamphetamine coming into the U.S., the drugs killing tens of thousands of Americans every year, are operating just across the border. But Washington's hands are tied. As Sadler explains, once you move operations on land, things get complicated. Sovereignty issues, collateral damage, international law. That's why our government limits action to international waters and airspace where our legal footing is stronger. Still, it's hard not to notice the double standard, isn't it? We'll take out a cartel vessel off the coast of Venezuela, but we won't or can't touch the labs cranking out fentanyl just across the border in Mexico, in those Mexican cities that you can almost walk into the U.S. from. Now, to put this in perspective, the Drug Enforcement Agency reports that nearly all the meth sold in the United States today comes from Mexico, and it's purer and more potent than ever. Meanwhile, Customs and Border Protection seized 27,275 pounds of fentanyl in 2023. That's enough to kill the entire U.S. population a number of times over. Yet, instead of dealing with that threat head on, Washington, maybe to some, are still pretending that the root causes and the international cooperation is going to solve the problem. I think Trump realizes that's not the case, but right now his hands are tied. I mean, cooperation is fine, but you can't cooperate with people who are funding, feeding, and protecting the cartels. So let's talk about the Trump angle, because that's the key to this issue. During his first term, President Trump reportedly floated the idea of bombing Mexican drug labs, an idea that shocked Washington elites, but made perfect sense to a lot of Americans who were tired of watching these cartels poison our country with impunity. He was told no, told it was too risky, too politically sensitive, too likely to upset Mexico, like he cares about upsetting Mexico. But under his renewed directive, the Pentagon has survived counter-narcotics task forces. They revived these striking traffickers where we can legally operate without any pushback in the Caribbean, near Venezuela, near the Colombian waters. And these aren't, again, symbolic moves. Every interdiction sends a clear message, not just to the cartels, but to Venezuela's dictator, Maduro. Remember, Venezuela has become one of the world's most permissive narco states. The U.S. Congress even passed legislation labeling parts of the Venezuelan military as narco-terrorist. As Mark Cancian, a senior defense analyst, said, the Venezuelan military is weak. We can operate off their shores with few concerns. Translation, the U.S. can really apply pressure there, militarily, economically, and politically, without sparking a regional war. Now, let's not miss the bigger picture. This renewed campaign isn't just about intercepting drugs, although that's a big part of it, but it's about restoring deterrence. For too long, traffickers have felt totally untouchable. They operate like multinational corporations, complete with accountants. They have private militias, global logistic chains, all types of transportations, their own private planes to come in and out. But when American destroyers and F-18s start taking out drug boats in international waters, when we start cutting off their sea routes, freezing their assets, taking out their infrastructure, it kind of changes the whole plan. It kind of changes their business plan. It tells every cartel in that area that there's a new sheriff in town, and it's just not safe. I mean, it's going to be harder for the cartels to get people to do this knowing you may be blown out of the sea. Now, of course, they're critics. Some foreign policy analysts warn that using military force risks destabilizing the fragile governments or maybe even damaging diplomatic ties. Again, I don't think Trump cares that we hurt their feelings. Lester Munson is a former congressional advisor. He said Mexico is very different than Venezuela. We have an excellent relationship with Mexico. Well, you know, I get that. But if we have such a good relationship, why can we not lean on the Mexican government to stop this, to stop their drug traffickers? Mexico is our largest trading partner. I realize that. Millions of jobs, billions in trade, cross that border every day. But as Ambassador Earl Anthony Wayne was quoted as saying, that relationship cuts both ways. Mexico has been cooperative on both migration and drug trafficking. We need more, and that cooperation is vital. The U.S. can share intelligence, use surveillance drones, and conduct operations at sea while Mexico handles its own territory if they will. Still, like any law enforcement officer will tell you, cooperation only works when both sides play by the rules and want to play by the rules. I don't know that Mexico cares about the rules because, again, the cartels rule so much in Mexico. The Mexican government loves the money, the cash that the cartels contribute to the operation of the Mexican government. Maybe it's under the table, but it's there. It's stronger than ever. Continuing this special broadcast from the Holy Land in Jerusalem today. And boy, what a great trip Mike Gallagher and I are having. We went out and about yesterday. If you haven't had a chance to tune in to the Mike Gallagher show, be sure and do so. You can watch it on the Salem News Channel at MikeOnline.com. But we went to some of the usual places, the Garden of Gethsemane, the Mount of Olives, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and just Old Town Jerusalem, just talking with people, sites that we've both been to over the years, but in a time it's just sort of serene as we're walking around Jerusalem, knowing that less than 50 miles away, just yesterday, you had Israel responding to the violation of the ceasefire by Hamas. And that was literally just less than 50 miles away. I mean, it'd be comparable with me. What? Let's see. In the upstate, in my home in Greer, what's 50 miles away? Maybe Gaffney, maybe a little further. But having such unrest and literally a war going on and massive strikes, again, ordered by Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, again, trying to do that as a deterrence to enforce the ceasefire. But I said all that to say, as I was making my way over to Israel, I went through John F. Kennedy Airport in New York, so I had to travel up to New York last Sunday. And as I was passing through New York on Sunday evening and then Monday, leaving from the airport there, a story that was unfolding over the weekend in New York was kind of interesting and really disappointing. There's a New York City artist that is known for her anti-Semitic message. And according to the New York Post, she has a Hamas-obsessed installation of her artwork, and there was some type of like pre-Halloween conference there, or on a small area, small island. I guess it's on the Hudson River, and they were having this taxpayer-funded thing. It's Governor's Island. That's what I was trying to think of, on Governor's Island, and an exchange was caught on camera of her going berserk when she was asked about her hate-filled artwork. Rebecca Goyette is her name, and she literally just flipped out when the New York Post approached her this week to ask a very simple question after her so-called artwork, I mean, if you see it, it's not really art, sparked outrage when it sprung up at this weekend family Halloween event. Here's her response when a New York Post writer just simply asked her very calmly about why she put her artwork in this public display in an area that she wasn't supposed to display it to begin with.
Ms. Goyette?
Get the away from me! What are you doing?
Ms. Goyette, I just want to find out about your art installation. It was very interesting. What were you trying to say?
Again, that was on the streets of New York when the New York Post was asking her a simple question. Why would you do this? Why is your art, or so-called art, it's not really art, full of hate? And her response was, "Get the F away from me. What are you doing?" And the reporter just calmly saying, "I just want to find out about your installation." Well, again, it comes after her unauthorized installation, which featured a mock street sign reading F Israel and a, quote, Hamas lover poster. It was widely blasted for exorcising the Jewish state. Her disturbing collection, according to the New York Post, popped up in a space occupied by Swell, which is a food forest nonprofit that's part of the Trust of Governors Island in Residence program. Again, taxpayer funded. The Trust for Governors Island and Swell were both quick to condemn the exhibit, insisting that Goyette was not part of the group's official programming. She kind of just put this up without asking. It was a statement, but yet when she's called out on it, when the Post is asking her questions about it, as you heard, she doesn't want to talk about it. Swell said, "We view this as a deliberate and malicious act by the artist. The exhibit was up for a few hours before officials became aware of it and tore it down," a rep for the nonprofit said, according to the Post. Goyette, who was apparently invited by a resident artist, has now been banned from the space, as she should be. Mayor Eric Adams was among those who ripped her display, arguing his administration has a zero tolerance for anti-Semitism or any form of hate speech. And that's exactly what her artwork, if you can call it that, was saying. The mayor said in a statement, the exhibit displayed at an art house on Governor's Island over the weekend was sickening and deeply offensive to the Jewish community and to any New Yorker opposed to hate. In the past, Goyette has voiced support for Palestine in a host of social media posts, including one in which she bizarrely claimed she was falling in love virtually with a dentist in Gaza as the pair shared, quote, vampire dentist jokes, "I'm going to bite you." This woman is sick. Look, it takes all kinds. But hey, kudos to Mayor Adams and kudos to these nonprofits for, first of all, disavowing her and primarily for taking her exhibit down immediately upon finding it. And this is just what Israelis are facing all around the world, and Jewish people all around the world. On the text line, and sorry I've been kind of behind on the text this week. It's just been so busy. Albert says President Trump should put a video monitor on the outside of Trump Tower and show the Democrats talking about keeping the government shut down to push their agenda regardless of how many Americans it hurts. Ginger says, this is good. I could be wrong, but if the name is Knapp, K is usually silent, pronounced nap. Apologies for being the grammar police. Now, Ginger's talking about, I think, I forget what the story was, but I was talking about a person by the last name of Knapp or Knapp. I think I pronounced it Knapp, but I said maybe that's not the correct way to pronounce it. Ginger, if you're listening today, for your information, I did have a friend whose last name was spelled Knapp, and he pronounced the K. He pronounced it Knapp. It's either Knapp or Nap. But hey, Ginger, you can always send me corrections. Texter, so Joey, this is Dan from Greenville. So this November, December, if they do pass the budget, what is the requirements to pass that budget? What is how many has to pass the Senate in order for the budget to pass? Does that really mean that it would not pass if 60? Yeah, they got to have 60 votes, Dan. That's how the Democrats are able to hold this up, even though Republicans have a majority, a slim majority, and even though we've had 3 Democrats consistently vote with the Republicans, they got to get the 60 votes, or this could go on forever. Texter, for my friend Jennifer. Hey, Joey, it's Jennifer. A great broadcast from Jerusalem this morning. Thank you. You bring local, national, and this week international news on location. Maybe there's something in the air, but yesterday morning I texted you that TDS, Trump Trump derangement syndrome, should be taken more seriously as a real condition. And Jesse Waters announced a new segment. Welcome to TDS Tuesday. Thank you, Jennifer. Your comments are always welcome. You can text me. You can email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com and take advantage of all the great deals. Mike Lindell still has some of his 6-piece bath towel sets. And as I've told you many times before, these towels are soft. They're absorbent. They're the best towels you will ever own. I promise you. I guarantee it. Mike Lindell guarantees it. And right now, if you use promo code Joey, a 6-piece set, normally $69.98, you're going to get it for $39.98. Just throw my name around. Tell them Joey Hudson sent you. Use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. Hey, let me also encourage you to check out my social media. I'm posting photos, videos, Instagram, Facebook. Just search for Joey Hudson on your various social sites. And let me invite you to join me on my YouTube channel, too. Just search for Joey Hudson on YouTube. I'm posting some videos there as well, my travels here in Europe. So hope you'll join me on those social media outlets as well, as we continue our special broadcast here in the Holy Land.
Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com.
What a great time we are having just talking with the Israeli people here in Jerusalem, as Mike Gallagher and I are here to talk about what the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews are doing in this country. And I'm glad to have you along. I appreciate the text messages, the emails that you've sent me. And, of course, we're talking a lot about what's happening here in Israel. And as fate would have it, we were a little bit nervous this week as we arrived on early Tuesday morning. And then some violence broke out again because Hamas violated the ceasefire. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered a swift response, and now it appears that the ceasefire is back. And it's just historic to be here and to talk to so many people, and it's just been great. I hope you'll check out all the things that Mike and I both are posting online and just sharing the visit with you. But we're also, still a lot of headlines back in the States, and we're trying to keep you updated on that as well. Have you heard the story or the update to the story of actress Jamie Lee Curtis, the Halloween Freaky Friday star? And I knew it was too good to be true when I read it at the time. But you remember right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and she said some nice things about Charlie Kirk? She made headlines for an emotional reaction on Mark Moran's podcast. She actually broke down and kind of cried a bit about Charlie Kirk's death. Here's what she said. I disagreed with him on almost every point I ever heard him say, but I believe he was a man of faith. And I hope in that moment when he died that he felt connected to his faith. Pretty decent thing to say, right? And again, I was proud of Jamie Lee Curtis for having a heart, for being respectful, for being compassionate about someone. I mean, I suspected that she didn't agree with the thing Charlie Kirk stood for. Well, apparently, compassion is no longer allowed in Hollywood because the woke mob evidently went after her. They accused her of being too kind to a conservative, too understanding, too human. So now Jamie Lee Curtis is doing what every celebrity under pressure from the left eventually does. She's walking it back. She told Variety this week that the whole thing was a mistranslation. Let me read her exact words. An excerpt of it is mistranslated what I was saying as I wished him well, like I was talking about him in a very positive way, which I wasn't, she explained. I was simply talking about his faith in God. So there it is. She's not sorry for saying something wrong. She's sorry for sounding too human, for sounding too decent. I mean, think about that. Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't praising Charlie Kirk's politics. She wasn't endorsing Turning Point USA. She was acknowledging as a fellow human being that even someone she disagreed with was still a husband, a father, and a man of faith. That was it. That was what I took it that she said at the time. And again, I was proud of her for having a heart. But that's all it takes now to send the far left into a meltdown. Because in their world, there's no room for grace. There's no room for empathy. You're either completely in line with their ideology or you're the enemy, and Jamie Lee Curtis does not want to be their enemy. Curtis went on to complain about this binary world, saying, "You cannot hold two ideas at the same time. I cannot be Jewish and totally believe in Israel's right to exist and at the same time reject the destruction of Gaza. You can't say that because you get vilified." Now, that part is true, though I doubt she realizes how much her own side enforces that binary. Because it's the radical left, her Hollywood colleagues, her social media followers, the activist press who live in that all or nothing world. And I thought maybe she had a little backbone and was standing up to them at the time, but I guess not. The woke, they're the ones who've decided you can't mourn the death of a conservative, even if you disagree with him. You can't believe in free speech unless it's speech they like. You can't love your country unless you hate everything it stands for. It's hypocrisy, pure and simple. And the woke, they're the king of hypocrisy. I mean, let's remember who Charlie Kirk was. Whether you agreed with him or not, he was a man who built a national movement around conservative ideas, faith, freedom, capitalism, and the Constitution. He loved our country. He founded Turning Point USA as a teenager, 18 years old. He spoke on college campuses that often tried to silence him. He stood for what he believed in unapologetically, unlike Jamie Lee Curtis. She could take a page out of a Charlie Kirk book. And even his harshest critics, like Jamie Lee Curtis apparently, could recognize that he was a man of conviction. So why can't that be okay? Why can't you say that? Why can't Jamie Lee Curtis say that and mean it? I mean, if you saw the video of her saying it, I really felt she meant it at the time. I mean, why can't we live in a country where people of different views can acknowledge each other's humanity without fear of being canceled? Curtis even admitted that the backlash she got was threatening. Think about that. Threatening because she showed a moment of decency. I mean, Hollywood could learn from her. Imagine if the roles were reversed. If a conservative actor had said something kind about a liberal who was tragically killed, you think they'd get canceled for it? Of course not. They'd be praised for their compassion and maturity. Because conservatives, we value human life. We value people's faith. We value their beliefs. But when it's someone like Charlie Kirk, someone the left has vilified for years and are still vilifying, by the way, maybe even more so in his death than when he was alive, suddenly empathy becomes problematic for the left. Here's the irony. Jamie Lee Curtis says she refuses to be careful about what she says. She told Variety, if I was careful, I wouldn't have told you any of what I just told you. I cannot be who I am in the moment that I am. Not quite sure what she meant by that last part, but that's a quote from her. Yet she just spent an entire interview being careful, walking back her own words to protect her Hollywood image. You can't claim to be fearless and then backpedal every time Twitter gets mad at you, and you would think that Jamie Lee Curtis and others would have learned that by now. I mean, again, I was misled. I was proud of her. Now, she's still Jamie Lee Curtis. This is what cancel culture has done to America. We've lost the ability to separate disagreement from hatred. We've lost the ability to see people, even our opponents, as human beings made in God's image. Jamie Lee Curtis tried to show a glimpse of that humanity. She got torched for it. She talked about Charlie Kirk as a man of faith. That was enough to send the internet into hysterics. It's sad, it's shallow, and it's exactly why America is as divided as it is today.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.